Hello, my name is Claire, and I am here today because Sarah J Maas has destroyed me once again. That is right, today we are talking about House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas, and can we just talk about how beautiful this hardcover is? It's so beautiful. House of Earth and Blood is the first book in Sarah J Maas's newest adult series, Crescent City. This is Sarah's first time diving into full adult territory, so you know what that means. Crescent City takes place in a suburban fantasy world, so it's a little different from Sarah's other books. If you love her other books though, you will love this one too. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars just because it took me a really long time to get into it. I think my brain was kind of overloading with all this information about this new world. It took me a really long time to adapt to this world and to these new characters, and to the writing style itself. It did feel very in-your-face adult. Listen, I have the mouth of a sailor, I'm not gonna deny it. I love swearing, which you wouldn't be able to tell from this channel, but it's true. But even I found the amount of usage of particular words, being someone who reads so much young adult and who doesn't come across that a lot in books, to be a bit jarring. After a while though, I kind of found my groove into the book, and I think the writing also kind of found its groove. Once I made it about halfway through, I could not put it down, and once I got to the end, was game over for Claire. I want to get right into discussing it because there is a lot to talk about. So if you have not yet read Crescent City, go pick it up, come back, and we will discuss it together. Y'all know Sarah J Maas and her plot twists, okay? So really, go. Hi guys. How are we holding up? The entire ending of this book, I, for the most part, am a very quiet reader. I stare intently at the page. I was making like audible noises and gasps and cheering, and I'd put the book down to like have a little dance party. This one made me feel a lot of things. I was talking to the characters, I was yelling at them. I will say, I think it was the ending of the book that really made it for me. It felt very much like A Court of Thorns and Roses, where I was like, okay, this is the book that is setting it up for the rest of the series, so there might not be the best twists happening. I'll come to love the characters once I get to know them. Sarah she full sent it. Yeah. I think one of the reasons why I struggled so much to get into this book is because at this point I have read Sarah J Maas's works so many times and analyzed them so much. I kind of know how the mechanisms of her stories go, so I was just overthinking absolutely everything. I was trying to be one step ahead of the book, and of course, I was not. I thought that Hunt's betrayal, where we find out that him and Victoria and Justinian were planning on using the synth to overthrow their masters. I was like, that is the plot twist of the book. That one got me. I felt that in my heart. Like, that hurt. That was really the first time in this book where I was like, yes, this is Sarah J Maas. Yes, feeling a lot. And of course I knew there had to be an ending, but I just didn't see any of that coming. Micah shows up, reveals that the horn is Bryce's tattoo, which Sarah literally plants in like the second page of the book. I can't believe she got us! I will say, I did suspect Micah at one point when the Crystallos demon attacks Hunt, and then Micah shows up and he disintegrated the body and was like,
"The press can't hear about this. We can't have any evidence it happened."
Shut up, Micah. You literally just outed yourself as a part of this whole situation. And then I forgot about it. I also am ashamed to say that I suspected Danica at one point, just a little, because I kept thinking, how did the whole pack go down unless Danica was behind it? And at one point in the book, Lahaba says to Bryce,
"I like your new friends. Danica was always mean to me."
And I thought that that might have been a clue or a sign toward Bryce not really knowing Danica's true side. I'm glad I was proven wrong though, because that whole ending Once Bryce had killed Micah, I was like, that was it. That's the ending. It was so intense. I felt like I was watching a psychological thriller. The writing was so detailed. It was like watching this movie, and it was so freaky. And then everyone watching it happening live at the conference, it almost gave me like Hunger Games vibes. Like they're watching this girl who is going to be murdered, and there's nothing they can do about it. Don't go underestimating Bryce Quinlan though. So all this shit goes down in the library, and Leheba sacrifices herself. We find out that Bryce paid her debts to Jessica and that Leheba is free, and then her first act of freedom is to save her friends. The friendships are really what got me in this book. The friendships were the real deal. Bryce understands that she can't outrun Micah, so she goes for the kill, and she does it, and she's a freaking sharpshooter and shoots him through the head, sets him on fire, and vacuums him up. That was terrifying. I was visualizing Bryce just calmly vacuuming this archangel up. Like, that is some Get Out shit right there. But there's more! Freaking Micah has opened this portal to hell, and all these demons are coming through. And I literally was like, how is that not the ending of the book? How is there still more problems? Early on in the book, we learn that Bryce is the Autumn King's daughter. I was like, this is her big secret. This is the thing that somehow is going to get out and be a big deal. Yeah, no, she also has the Starborn power. Bryce kept this from Run and her father because she saw how much being the chosen one meant to him. I'll be completely honest, the beginning of the book, I wasn't really sure what to feel about Bryce. I judged her for being this party girl. I was just as bad as everyone else. I thought that it was her grief that kind of changed her as a person. But no, Bryce has just always been this super intelligent, empathetic person all along, and I feel stupid. Also, Sarah J Maas just seems to have a thing for like badass healer women, and I'm here for it. I love Hypaxia. I'm so excited to learn more about her character. I think she's gonna be a part of this squad that we have. There's nothing I love more on this planet than a Sarah J Maas squad. Hypaxia sets Hunt free, kills Sandrill, and then, you know, everyone's like, gotta go save the day. At this point, I had been feeling a lot, teared up a few times, and then Bryce realizes how she can close the gates. She needs to make the drop, and she needs someone to anchor her through one of the other gates. And then we hear Danica. Throughout the book, there is this moment of Bryce's past that we get a glimpse into with Danica, and we learn that she has killed someone before to protect her and her friend, and I always just made the assumption that she'd shot the people, and then we learn it was her Starborn power, and then I realized that the reason Danica said light it up instead of I love you. I filmed myself after I had this realization, so here's a clip of me like in the moment feeling the feels. I just realized why Danica would always say light it up instead of I love you, because Bryce lit up with her Starborn power to save her. I didn't expect this book to do this to me. Light it up. Fuck. I can't believe there's still more. Like, there's, like, shit is still going to go down. Like, we're not even at the end. Wow. Bryce makes the drop without an anchor, like the total badass that she is. She gets to the bottom, and Danica's there. My heart is, like, actually, like, just... The part that made me cry was when Danica says, we all know, and Bryce realizes that the pack of devils is on the other side with her, and Danica says that Connor and the pack are holding off the Reapers for her. In that moment, I was like just imagining this completely other storyline with Danica and the pack of devils fighting for Danica to get to Bryce. It broke my heart, and there were tears. I think one of my greatest weaknesses when it comes to reading is seeing someone who's just absolutely gone through hell have to claw their way back up with the support of their loved ones. And Sarah always writes that so beautifully. Quick Heir of Fire spoiler when Cinderella goes down. Cinderella, our assassin queen, thank you. The spoiler is over. It reminded me so much of the scene in Heir of Fire when Aelin is down and all of her loved ones who are dead are like, get up. That is one of my favorite scenes in any book ever. That scene alone is why I love Heir of Fire so much. And reading this one, I was just like, oh, there she goes again, breaking my heart, but also healing my heart. I love Sarah J Maas. Her friendship with Danica is just so beautiful, and I think that friendship alone really makes this book. But also the story about Juniper coming to her house when Bryce was on the roof thinking about jumping off. And I loved when Fury is on the barge and she's like,
everyone get away from Bryce.
And she takes Bryce home and tries to take care of her. I love friendships. I love Rune so much. I think he's a great character. I felt so bad for him throughout this book because every time he tried to reach out to Bryce, she was like, and I get it, but I really felt for him. The scene at the end where she forgives him for their fight and just for everything was just so beautiful. Rune and his friends are just such loyal homies. It was so cool to see this Fae warrior who was brilliant with technology, like Declan, hacking into these systems and trying to find information for Bryce and Hunt. And Flynn? I know we don't know much about Flynn, but I have a crush on Flynn. I definitely do. Don't know what it is with these Sarah J Maas male side characters who I fall in love with, but I'm also in love with Cassian from the Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy, in case you were wondering. When he's calling Bryce his princess and he's like, I can't believe you didn't tell us she was our princess. And then he's like, I gotta go save my princess. Maybe it's the name, Flynn Rider. I also really enjoyed seeing Bryce's relationship with her parents, and she loves them so much and she's willing to do anything to protect them and keep them out of the city when she thinks there's danger. And I just loved Ember. Bryce and her mother are so stubborn and so alike. Anytime there was a scene between Ember and Bryce, I was laughing. And oh my gosh, when the Autumn King calls Ember at the end and she's like,
I've been waiting for this phone call for 20 years.
What a badass. One of the things I love so much about Sarah J Maas's writing is how so much of it is about the internal battles, dealing with anxiety and dealing with grief. I think this is the first book I've really come across that's really gone into slut shaming. The amount of backlash Bryce got when her friends died. Bryce, who is so strong and so willful, had such shame in her heart because of how other people treated her. Everyone saw her as this wild party girl, and even Fury at one point is like,
we were all just trying to protect you because you were out of control.
And that's not who Bryce is, and it just broke my heart that people didn't see that, and that she was at a point where she didn't want anyone to see that side of her, that she had accepted that this was her reputation. So obviously I had some problems with Amelie and Ethan and the wolf pack, but I sensed a redemption arc for Amelie, and we're getting there, and I think that Amelie and Ethan are actually going to be a part of this badass squad, and I'm excited to see them redeem themselves. A lot of the things they've said and done were absolutely not okay. I think Amelie and Bryce could have a really strong female friendship. Women have to work together, not apart, which we've seen in Sarah J Maas's books before, so I'm expecting that. We also start to see a bit of redemption for Ethan when he's fighting with Bryce at the end. I think that Jessica isn't as bad as she's made out to be. Bryce talks about how after Danica died, Jessica forced her to go back to work. That sounds like someone who sees a friend who's down and is trying to help them pick themselves back up. I'm interested to see how Jessica plays into all of this, especially because of the epilogue. Okay, let's talk about some theories here. Theory number one, Hunt is not endgame. I'm not positive about this. It's just knowing Sarah J Maas, I'm not so sure that he is the one. She writes such beautiful, complex relationships. And I feel like even though Hunt isn't possessive of Bryce, this is the woman who wrote Rhysand. I still love their relationship. I think they have an amazing friendship, and I do think they need each other in their lives. I just don't know that that's in a romantic way. It's not that I'm against Hunt and Bryce being together. I thoroughly enjoy the prospect of them being together. I just have this feeling, and I have to throw it out there, which leads me to theory number two, which might be the most bizarre theory I've ever had. And I'll probably feel stupid about this, but if I'm right, I'm gonna feel really smart. I think there might be something between Adis, our Prince of Hell, and Bryce. When she summoned him, I was getting vibes. I was getting vibes, and he says, when this is all over, come find me. Mates? Perhaps. Theory number 3. We hear so much about this 7th, I don't know how to pronounce it, Astari. The 7th one is just not there. They're missing, they're dead. I don't really remember, I don't know if we know. Something about this is going to come up, like this is going to be a thing. So one of my theories is that Bryce is the 7th Astari. I'm not really sold on this, but let's just throw caution to the wind and say it. I also have a theory about who the other potential 7th Astari could be, but that involves some other Sarah J Maas spoilers. So this brings me to the part of the theory conspiracy section where if you haven't read Sarah J Maas's other series, you might want to go. I'm convinced that we are going to get some sort of crossover. In Kingdom of Ash, we see Feyre and Rhysand, and that was just like shocking. That was the first clue that Sarah J Maas's worlds don't exist separately. This is the Sarah J Maas universe. And in this book, there is so much talk about how there are other worlds and there are rips into those worlds. Bryce can access these worlds with her starborn power through the gates, can't she? I don't know if I really understand how all that works yet, but that's what I think. I'm convinced we're gonna get an epic crossover. I want it. I want our own endgame. I got this vibe halfway into the book when they talk about the other worlds and how like the Fae and the angels and all these different mythological creatures came to this world, I believe, or it was some sort of world like this world that is technologically advanced. They came to a human world from these other worlds. What other worlds do we know that have Fae? Another thing that was a clue was near the end of the book, Bryce is going through all these different books in the archives trying to find a way to free Hunt, and she comes across The Walking Dead. Sarah J Maas does not work in coincidences. The Walking Dead is from the Throne of Glass series. We know this book. Another book that was listed is, I think it was The Queen with Many Faces, and it's been a while since I've read ACOTAR, but I'm pretty sure that that has something to do with that trilogy. Somehow these books are from other worlds. That's why Jessica is like, we have to protect them at all costs. These books are not from our world. So I don't think that theory is so far-fetched. If this crossover exists, I think potentially Amryn could be the 7th Astari. I mean, we found out she's this whole dragon thing, if I remember correctly, but she talks about how she's not of this world, she's from another world. This also brings me back to Hunt and Bryce's relationship. I don't think that Hunt is a Tamlin. That's not the situation going on here, but there were a lot of ACOTAR parallels. Bryce is willing to sell herself to Sandriel to replace Hunt in the same way that Feyre went under the mountain to save Tamlin. However, when Feyre was under the mountain, Tamlin was like,
"That's my girl."
Whereas Hunt is like,
"Absolutely not. This is not happening. You're not doing this."
But then also the fact that Hunt is so protective of Bryce. He's not possessive, but we have characters like Rhysand and Rowan who are like,
"You make your own decisions, you're your own person. Yes, I want to protect you, but like, you gotta do what you gotta do."
Which brings me back to Adis. Maybe Adis is Bryce's endgame. I don't know. And if Bryce and Hunt turn out to be endgame, great. I'm not against it. Sarah J Maas does love her enslaved men and these strong women coming in and freeing them. That thematically has always existed in her books. All of our leading male protagonists have been enslaved to these horrible women, and then our female heroines have come along and freed them somehow. So maybe Hunt is endgame, I just want to see what happens with Adis. I'm so excited to learn more about him just in general, learn more about his backstory. That is all I have to say today. The next book apparently doesn't come out till November 2021. I want this crossover, guys. I want this crossover. Feel free to leave your own theories below because there's just so much and this is a new universe. Let me know what were some of your favorite parts. Are you in love with Flynn too? I can't be the only one. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye!